Another big story this morning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is in Washington today, his first known trip outside Ukraine since the war with Russia began more than 300 days ago.
Yeah, Zelenskyy is expected to hold an extended meeting with President Biden and his national security team before addressing members of Congress. According to the Biden administration, the visit is intended to, quote, underscore the United States' enduring commitment to Ukraine. NBC News White House correspondent Carol Lee joins us now with the latest on this. Good morning to you, Carol. Obviously, just Zelenskyy visiting here is getting so many headlines. So what is he expected to actually talk about with Biden when he meets with him?
Well, they're expected to talk about a number of things, particularly this nearly $2 billion in aid that the U.S. is going to announce. And that includes those Patriot missile defense system, which the Ukrainians have been asking for some time. Now, in terms of the schedule, I can walk you through the president of Ukraine. He's scheduled to arrive at the White House at 2 o'clock. They'll go into a meeting, him and President Biden, to around 2:30. That's expected to last 2 hours or more. That's on the schedule. And then at 4:30, they will have a joint press conference where they'll take questions from reporters, and then Zelenskyy will address a joint session of Congress later in the evening. And so in addition to the aid that the U.S. is announcing that they'll be providing to Ukraine today, they're also going to discuss the future of aid in Congress and what that looks like. There's a $45 billion aid package that's moving through Congress as part of that broad spending bill. And there's a real question about whether the U.S. is going to be there in terms of supplying Ukraine with aid in the future, as officials say that this war could drag out for some time. So you'll see President Biden, President Zelenskyy both trying to really keep up the momentum and keep the country united around supporting Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the aid. How is Congress responding to these proposed aid packages right now? Does it seem like that is Zelensky's number one focus when he speaks to Congress later today?
Yeah, and that it is. And it's partly to try to encourage lawmakers to stick with this, and also to, according to White House officials, to thank the American people for the billions and billions of dollars of aid that they've already provided Ukraine. Congress so far has maintained bipartisan support for supplying Ukraine with additional aid. Senior leaders in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, back this. But there is a growing number of Republicans within the Republican caucus who are saying, you know, look, this is too much aid. They don't want to support this. And there's some concern about that, particularly as this goes on for some time.
And Zelenskyy is also expected to address the American people directly. So why is that such a priority, and what are we expecting to hear?
No, I think in terms of what you're expecting to hear is we've seen President Zelenskyy before address bodies of lawmakers in various countries, including virtually in this Congress earlier this year, and he'll paint presumably a stark picture of what's happening in the war in Ukraine, the suffering that the Ukrainian people are going through as Russia continues to rain down bombs on the Ukrainians, and also to thank the American people for their support and try to get them to continue to stay united around supporting them. It's also worth noting that part of the President Zelensky's conversations with President Biden are likely to focus on some of the things that the U.S. is not providing that the Ukrainians would like the U.S. to provide, some of those longer range weapons, tanks, F-16s, things like that. And so there'll be some pressure on President Biden to follow through potentially with supplying some of those larger weapons.
All right, Carol Lee, thanks for that update.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.